big one is coming. Maybe. I still don't really know if there is a big one in this game to be found. Does Spongebob say different things each chapter or something? I appreciate that if he does. What? Ah, darn, you can't combine things and also make them not terrible. Ah. Squiddy. Man, look at the quality on that thing already. You're ruining it, Squidward. Wow, I'm surprised I managed to do that on the first try. Seeing as how I just started playing this game a few seconds ago. It is kind of drawing just jumping right into this game the way that I do at the start of a session, but what else is there to do?
Here, let me help. Oh boy!
I feel like I barely get that most of the times when I actually manage to pull it off. I sometimes wonder if I've actually managed to do the whole thing, or if the game just gives you credit for almost completing it. How did I not notice that the saw wasn't in the right place there? It feels like such a simple thing. They're giving me money, so I can spend it on nothing. I think for the moment I'm kind of out of thoughts for this game, which is kind of a silly thing to say at the very beginning of a session, but stop stacking! It's not allowed. It actually looks kind of photogenic.
Done and done. Good
Done.
try. Here, I'll help.
But we're getting towards the end of this game, so... Okay, well, random little thoughts. At the bottom left of each of these things... You can't see it right now, really. You can kind of see on that one, on the far left corner of it. You see three little dark spots right together that look like a,
My workers are in trouble.
like a nuclear flower.
Here, let me help.
As in the one that designates radiation. Is it nuclear flower, radiation flower, whatever you call it? Trying to think and cook at the same time, and you know those things are mutually exclusive tasks. And for me, remembering things specifically while simultaneously performing any kind of task is, for some reason, impossible.
My workers need help. I got it.
I don't know how to account for that, but I feel like that's one of my biggest issues, like, in general. My weird difficulty in remembering things on the spot.
Another one down.
And here... I managed to... There was one time
Show you how.
where, at the dentist, I was asked, randomly, unexpectedly, if I used a particular brand of mouthwash, and I had to say... As an example, just if you catch me by surprise asking me a question, trying to get me to recall something, I had to ask for what is that? Well, I don't know why they didn't just say mouthwash, because they didn't use it to say mouthwash in general, but I said, oh, okay, you mean mouthwash? Yes. I use that. In fact, I use that specific brand. But you just ask me something on the spot, and for some reason I forget it. It is why you'll find me constantly when I play things on this channel, struggling to remember the names of lots of things, including the games that I've played.
Unsatisfied.
It's a weird hang-up I have. I don't know why. I wish I could do something about that. Of course, the rate at which I speak is probably one difficulty. And those that follow me across various games, I don't know how many people that actually is. Because I think I have some fairly disjoint audiences on this channel. But some will notice that's a recurring topic for me. Me and trying to speak clearly. Because I tend to speak too quickly. That's a lifelong issue I've had. To where I can't really be understood. Even there have been cases where I've even recorded my voice trying to speak clearly and enunciate, and it feels like I'm enunciating every sound so much, and then I listen back to it and I've just completely skipped over certain sounds. It's kind of weird. Amusingly, video games It's just late enough for our Let's Plays are kind of an opportunity for me to practice that. Oh jeez. Yeah, I think I just need to make sure I'm still moving the cursor when I let go. But the difficulty is that I'm also distracted as I do it, which means, one, I tend not to be paying direct attention to whatever it is that I'm trying to talk about. Which means, one, that I tend to forget things more, and two, that I tend to run the issue of not being able to pay conscious attention, okay, to what it is I'm talking about, or I'm doing it right now. Well, I'm doing that first thing right now. It's difficult to pay conscious attention to how I'm speaking if I'm distracted by something else. On top of that, there are lots of things happening that interrupt me and prompt me to interrupt myself, and I consequently lose track of what I was saying before. Or otherwise just speak in a really disjointed fashion, even if I manage to keep track of all the threads I'm following in my head. But it's a bit bothersome. I can't always tell if I've made much of any improvement on that or not. I feel like I'm better at it if I'm consciously thinking about it at a given moment. Like I am right now. Beautiful. But I completely forgot what task I was doing here. I thought I was making a sausage. See, right now I just cut off myself and interrupted a thought that I was about to impart on you. I'm not even sure what that thought was. Did I have a fully prepared thought? I'm not totally certain. But now I'm speaking more quickly again. You would think that speaking wouldn't be such a difficult task. Not because there's not a lot of stuff to it, but because it's something that at least most people do a lot of. Do I speak a lot? Maybe I don't. I think that's part of the difficulty. I have gone actual days of my life, I think, without speaking to anybody else. Maybe bordering on like a week before. In like an isolated situation, or an isolated case. So that might be part of why. But I've always had the issue of speaking quickly too, which probably is unrelated. But you would think that speaking is something one would get a lot of practice with in terms of following a coherent string of thought and whatnot. But at the same time, it is a very complex thing. There's a lot of very complex thought going on when it comes to speaking and also generating thoughts as you're speaking. And then the motor aspect of speaking is actually very complicated. You're trying to do that with as little conscious effort as possible so that you can also think about what it is you want to say as you're articulating that physically. So in a certain sense that's not surprising, I guess. But you can spend your whole life on it, or at least my whole life until now, working on that. With some difficulties. I will never get over these things being solid white before you fry them. I can't imagine that's really frying them enough. Get going, guy. Alright. Well, this is one of those awkward situations again. I hope they give us something fun to play with after this round, because we're going to go over time by quite a lot. Finally. No dishes to look at or anything. It's been a long time since we added any new dishes. But otherwise, episode time is a very awkward situation right now. Darn it, I can't see the calpits or what we're increasing the price on. The only thing for me to spend money on. Is everything else maxed out? It is. That's kind of a bad thing. Again, I don't mean to not show off any of the other foods, it's just that... What did they master, by the way? It's just that I kind of have to stick to minigames that I don't hate. Especially with how much we're doing lately. Go ahead and flipping garnishing. Oh, is flipping the thing that I hadn't mastered yet? I think that's it. Beautiful. Oh, you can hear them blink. Wonderful. You know what? Whatever. I should at least get a good average on. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll do this.
We've got work to do.
I'll try to keep a good average episode length, but it's a little awkward. The whole thing.
What's that, Gary?
Should have moved that forward.
Uh-oh.
Ah!
Busy.
I gained nothing from that bonus that I got there. Except the smug satisfaction of having made it happen.
Not too shabby.
Ah!
My workers are in trouble. Help is on the way.
Well, I think it makes some amount of sense that if you're going to be playing this... Whoa. So much
That'll be fun.
that you'd want to get used to the different
I can do this one.
formulas. So me doing the same things a decent amount does make some amount of sense. There you go. Finally bumped the quality on that. Ah!
Up we go.
There.
Patrick, wait for me.
I mean, I don't think he has a choice to wait. Unless Patrick is trying to break out a steamroller or something to flatten this thing. You're trying to stop him from touching the food, because otherwise it looks like the whole problem is that he's not doing anything to the food. I don't know how many ways there are to mess up pounding a patty, or anything similar. I guess you can do it too much.
I'll save you.
I like looking at the Plankton's face as Spongebob says, "I'll save you." Seems very unimpressed by that. See, on the left there, bottom left corner, it really looks like that flower. Maybe that's why we're disposing of them. Whoops. Maybe that's just radioactive waste that's a byproduct of our food that we have to dispose of by just making it shrink into
Where I'm talking
the
about.
nether.
Done and done. And done.
Yeah.
The grill needs my help. Ooh, I can do this one.
You know, with how much you're shaking this, it would make sense for it to be in a pot, I guess, instead of a pan.
Come in.
You know, it's clearly not on the
Sounds like a
screen.
squid in trouble. I'll show you how.
I wonder how far we are on battering. And out of all the minigames in this game, this is one of the ones that most feels like filler, because there's not even timing involved, or strict. You don't have to do it quickly or anything.
How it's done.
There's no challenge to it whatsoever.
Help is on the way.
Squidward has way too many of them. Actually, he has a lot of feet, but not a lot of hands, unfortunately. Well, doesn't he only have... How many feet does he have? He only has 4, doesn't he? Yes, he only has 6 tentacles in total. Maybe he has, like, 2 extra retractable arms that he just hides from everyone. Like Stitch.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Can't help but imagine that SpongeBob saying that then was sarcastic. He just walks up to someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Instant-idly says, "Nicely done."
My station needs help.
Yeah, but this bomb,
Another one down.
the pie bomb,
Let me help you out.
we've made those at the Krusty Krab before. Well, have we? Not really. I just bought them someplace not behind the Krusty Krab. You know, that has to be a thing in this game. The explosive pie. I mean, I don't really know what the... I guess, like, the implication for customer health wouldn't be that great, which is one reason we might not put it in the game. But it's a food thing that appeared in the show at one point, so I feel like this game's kind of obligated to at least reference it, even if not make it a dish you can make yourself.
Patrick Station needs help. Watch and learn.
Ah. The difficulty with this one is that, well, is it not? Are there, how many different positions do you have to cut in there? Is it 5 or 6? Because if it's 5, that means that I have to move 2 times for 5, and that travel time for me is making up a larger proportion of the total cutting time, which is why it's difficult for me to compare it to cutting the cucumber, where I'm moving 2 times for
Nicely done.
6 different spots. And we'll bump up the quality of this thing on the left.
Squidward, let's turn that frown upside down.
No. I already had something else to help Squidward with. I'm not optimistic about this patty.
Yeah, good one. Sandy, I'm sending in the troops.
No, you're not. We're playing stone skipping with some tater tots instead. It's a very metallic sound that thing made. Are these just metal?
Let my spatula
Is that why they're silver? Pickles. How has Bubble Bass not appeared in this game?
The grill needs my help.
That's actually a really big question I have.
Help is on the way.
And if you're gonna be making food for people at the Krusty Krab, and you're making as many cameos in this game as you are, how would Bubble Bass not be one of them? I realize he only appeared in the show, like, what, twice? He had a brief cameo at one point, I believe, in Band Geeks, because I believe Larry was reading an advertisement posted on his back. I don't think Bubble Bass appeared in any other episodes, at least not that I watched. Maybe they brought him back way later or something.
Station needs help. Good try. Here, I'll help.
I'm not one to moan about when shows or other forms of media have gone past their prime or anything, so this isn't something that I've ever said before, and not something I'd usually bring up even if it did come to mind. I feel like one of my main measures for when I might start losing interest in some kind of series is when they start bringing back old characters, because that's usually when I think to myself that it feels like it's apparent that they're kind of reaching for ideas, and or just kind of trying to fit in with audience demand. If the audience wants to see more of a certain character or something that only appeared once. I guess the thing is, my idea, I have this thought in narratives and fiction and whatnot, that something can be like finished and just be done and doesn't need to be touched anymore. And that usually if I find a given story interesting or not interesting but satisfying or something like that, I won't actually want more of it. I might want to see some aspect of the story explored more or something like that, but I wouldn't want to see, say, like a sequel to it or anything like that, because I feel like it's just being done and finished and should be left like that now. So if you have a one-off character that just stars in a single episode and then you bring them back like another season later or longer after that, it usually, for me, leaves a bad taste in my mouth because I think, well, they've already served their purpose. And if you want another character that would serve that purpose, you can make a new one again, I guess. But in which case, it's being kind of lazy, not having a new one. But anyways, there was more nuance to that than I'm able to fit in the next 10 seconds before we reach 20 minutes. And I don't want to reach 20 minutes, so next episode we'll talk to this guy. And also look at our new recipe. Bye everyone.